All right, I wish I'm a member of Kwame Odia Sampa TV. Musum for Dia Sampani. Musum for Dia Sampani. Trading for be a quine near me near here when the immediately say, oh, a year. Sana, Miss Odomak Madalman to me holiday. I wish ya say, Obekaya, a brana Nana Kwame Bediako, a year campaign ni mono. Oko interview I think say one and the dusty interview Emma ye bisa no about say o my Ghana ye to about the manual the relationship between ECOWAS Economic Community of West Africa States and AU African Union no say na obesi esiafa no aka na in fact o make statement be me yes an ka make video na me dey na why but because of time to me ampesa video no and Nana Kwame Bediako make statement be say ECOWAS a useless organization including African Union na we na yenu ba ko so akoye ho research na eno na mpesa me de bro na ye mu breakdown and don't forget Ibrahim Traroe enso by ebe make the same statement ni enti a omo eba say the Sahel Mali Niger Burkina Faso omate omo ho no matwe omo afri ECOWAS emu no ni na no nkomo we aye ba bedi no ebemo wate ase na ni enti ama me da bia me ka chew say His Excellency John Dramani Mahama abatwa yetoma no with parliamentarians aye de amani ni hina no obe westi sa ade ni hina a omfa mmobra bia emma oman Ghana nkomo we enko na wiye no obeti ase enti se we yetimam nipa na omema partisan endi wadwen endi wakoma na obemi yemi oni yatena ase ne reason I think say beboa na yebetumi acherecha afoforo nso aka no ye kan ye ho bomu a yebeteki the right decision na me yetumi move forward. Don't forget you see time omo twen omo ho no ye wonkofo bi wo ho no ma at least na yen African youth no ewo areshrem ewo omumu because ni enim say ye ma the youth no opportunity na ombe to me and make impact inti Senegal president young guy fameye ye to aba ema no you see ECOWAS esoman ema ne ko Ibrahim Traroe mo ehonom ekoye ya na mfi se bia ye visit but ni na ne say just anko omonko na ono omo enko kasa en sa nkoye ni na so no na message na kasa ewo ba bia eyeden efri eba abusha yebedi nkomo but anse na yebedi nkomo yenje nkrato we emra
ano kwamo mianka na awodi nipa pina ekwate timu pao amani pampempema wale agu odia sampa spiritual and herbal center awo womo yade se wombe mu wanya basisi a yade bi tise stroke gonorrhea anabama wale mre ewampamu low sperm count womo wanu aduro tatahwe eni gisem ne se sabane sunsum nsema womo tenete se ye sunsumu aware anasa yare bi ne yade amawo pampabone anabo ana wanya abai amane court case wobetu charge osisi anam omadwuma panti ni pampempem ene befo mu kofie ekoye sunsumu nyuma edemom samosini ene enzimani ekabom dia sunsumu niema asie betu obi age wukunu anasa woyere awaresem adwumasem akwantuom nsem ni nyina aya sumasem fabadan odia sampa spiritual and herbal center obehu yan
New Koforidua ejoso ne konongo infinfin aye Ashanti region ehon ma number aye didi dwuma no aye 054 3304976 and I say 020 134 0421 054 3304976 and I say 02 anti abushia eno no say eye yare bi na to na say upre pure organic herbal medicine dia emfa wani nchire ba bia Odia Sampa Spiritual and Herbal Center. And near Nika Ewum say me ameno say me ani the CEO of Odia Sampa Spiritual and Herbal Center and yenru yede eye adwuma eye pure organic herbal remedy ena ye yisu no ewo ahanom Inti abushia yenua eye tuntum network ono na okoye se sa research we ede bae and the research na awye no eye so amazing to the send say ohwe ensem a ewo mu a ayana no wonder say these people na nkasa no omofra ye say the poorest country na yes the poorest country adentia eba ne say omunkofo a egu ho te say yen a ye wo anka oman mu Ghana hai nanka ebia ye te baby te say Europe ni e fi say ebia Europe e country no but forgetting say Europe a continent te say Africa etia no nti ye biso omo say which of the anasi ye biso omo say aman ni nyina no ne na ye ahiafo eman a answer a omo de man say Africa omo nim kra say Africa a continent because yan kasa leaders a ya chusu omo and unity na ya say yan form na kasa kra no omo ntumi en sponsor omo ho aroho abusia sene be ya ncha ho no yentie yenua no ne presentation no a oyeye no na afi no yem breaking yama down emfa ema but abusia mesra say oba so nso a o join ye life na obe hye amaye na wa bolave no so sene be ya ebekwa akiri ama afoforo nso enya message no ebi.
This video is going to shock you on why the African Union, I mean the AU, is only a paper group thing that is capable of nothing. They cannot protect any member country and cannot stand against any outside force. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know the requirements needed to be a member of the African Union? And do you have any idea how AU is funded every year? Well, that's why I'm here. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, because after today, you know why we, the people of Africa, expect so much from the Union, but the Union has nothing special to offer. Be sure to subscribe if you are new here, because this place is all about research and presentations. Let's get into it. There are 55 internationally recognized African states which are 55 members of the AU. This is how you become a member of the AU. You must be geographically located on the African continent, be recognized by a majority of AU member states, and accept the constitutive act of the African Union. Once you are through with all that and pledge to follow the rules governing the Union, congratulations, you are a member of the Union. Now, this is the troubling part, ladies and gentlemen. The African Union, just like any organization or group in the world, needs funding to be effective and sustainable. The problem, however, is this. The African Union is funded through three different means. It is funded by a combination of member state contributions, external partners' pledges and support, and other sources. The first part, which is contribution from member states, should have been the ideal and paramount situation amongst all. But no, it's the second important source of funding. It's rather largely funded by the external partners and other sources. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be the part of our focus in this video. Who or which groups of people or entities form the external partners and the other sources of funding.
Analysis
Hold on for a second. That information is coming. Before I put that information out there,
African
I want you to first check the list of the budget of the AU. In 2024, AU's annual budget estimated at just $650 million.
58 countries,
What a joke! What a shame! For a union of 55 sovereign states with challenges taller than the Kilimanjaro,
budget
this is our budget for 365 days. That translates to just about 1.7 million of funds for expenditure per day in Africa. What a joke. No wonder they are incapable of doing
France for no amaye nyina yengu espake the king of Africa, the real leader of Africa, the son of the soil already Africa, Ibrahim Traroe. And obekasa ekachre Macron say onji nisa Macron ankasa oye nipa na so odana osore na nko bompire omobima Africa. If you say ni refi say ye nananom enimu anka France enda so enye France. Mene wo ka say sanka bia na omo sesam a France players na kwa World Cup edin egu omuso nyina brass. Osho omo kala kra na omo nyina brass. Omo bibia omo ya with that brass no enya adwuma. And as a whole union motumi forming all African countries and join you mo annual you can say expenditure and I say musika ankasa motumi asiesie na say ye de boaboa ye ho ama ye mpuntuo ye bambo ene ye nkanko akoso no eno na one particular country expand wo sa wo country no ho a ebeye den wabu sa wankasa no ye nipa ebeye den na otwe resource kwa ontwe ni free enko won mobo intino a visionary leader bia no will never entertain this one inti say ye to aba eyi ye president for na won say omu dimu na omu ani abre na ECOWAS na ayi AU no omu kwa hu say omu nkobo bia. This is one of the things I was say you follow na ye dwen as citizen, because at this time Ghana Africa baby aye kono mobo hwe wo hwe ECOWAS African Union ni Addis Ababa wan mo hwe sisi DR Congo ni omo fam no wo de yentie ya baba ehonom eso intino Africa de ye mobo ankasa because of
anything. How do you expect to spend a paltry $1.7 million on 55 member states on maintaining our sovereignty and peace and be successful at it? When one terrorist organization is spending more than $10 million a day, which is 8 times higher than our collective group. Ladies and gentlemen, this is nonsensical. And the saddest part of this is that the member states' contributions in the union only account for 40% of the total $650 million budget. I repeat, African member countries' contribution in the AU altogether accounts for $260 million out of the $650 million. That's less than half of the budget, meaning the external sources and the other sources are the ones who provide the rest of the funding for Africa's budget. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know who these external sources are? I'm coming to that in a minute. But first, note that each African country's contribution to AU is based on a formula that considers the individual country's GDP and population size to determine how much you pay, just as is done at the UN. So, the wealthier countries pay more. This is the common practice. Here is where each member country stands as at last year's contribution. South Africa is Africa's highest contributor. South Africa alone pays 14% of the total 40% of the annual budget. Nigeria is the second largest contributor with 13%. Egypt contributes 10%. Algeria contributes 8%. These are the top 4 biggest contributors to the African Union from Africa. Sao Tome and Principe, Comoros, and Seychelles contributes the lowest of them all, which is less than 0.001% of the budget. Kenya contributes 2%, and Ghana, ladies and gentlemen, contributes less than 0.5% of AU's annual budget. So you see where the problem is now. Now I understand why many things.
Abushia, Mesra say Obekoso ana wa share link. Brother Philip, I'm very emotional, bro. I know the sanity say we you be a odwe oman no na wo hwe niam a ekoso na sa na ebeye because very very sad. Entino eno na ema ye ni abra kire say was say consider the kind of leaders ye choose no. Ye share the kind of message or and the kind of lifestyle na nkasa say establishment ankasa o matumi establish kire say ye de o man ne show mo sa o betumi aye bibi a dey esefata intimate say oba so abekoso a share na face so wadwe ne life no so a obekoso abo life no so na ama afoforo enya bi ne adi sa nkomo we ede ama ye continent na nkasa no atumi agina yie nti abushia uhwe ade we a even countries ya bugbe Egypt eka ho bio meaning say wohwe per GDT ne population ya dey echusu the kind of contribution obeye na meaning say Nigeria crown much richer than Egypt. Now so development ewo Egypt no Nigeria ni mu quarter adentia because of say leaders no corrupt etrimodern omuni vision. The only thing now omuni ne say yasua sika akogu foreign account mu abusti omo economy na ye de aye weak. The same applies to Ghana. And as a Ghanaian almete hanu me who reason tia akayeka enkofo even the biggest country omo yes top contribution here me who reason tia anka ni say Ghana eka ho bi because again resource pa na yenni natural resources emuni ohe na obabodi a obeka say we there Ghana eni bi ya were almost 90% of all the natural resources trading upon ede amaye no and so ye can poorest country ye kind of my Ghana ede eka ho and with this contribution omoye and upon that contribution so no just an external force emum and a contribute be ede eka ho. No wonder say foreigners yes Africans mpo foreigners eba omanum etumi be jene omope ekwo na panyini biara entumi emmowa ewo ho emma oremfi ye betie ye nua na asem no but make sure reason intia ye mpanyinfo no ye ne Chinese for ese ya yensa ase na so omobo modern me no minim se chekwa omkoche omkaye propaganda bi omkoche bi a omse da bi Chinese for ne de ye be deport wo mo na yen citizen ne de ye do mu amum ayeden e di agu prison no me sure sa reason no yen to a yen komo no eso
right with my research. Now I understand why the Ghanaian government is silent like the rest of the other African leaders, because they know they are standing on nothing. They have nothing to offer, ladies and gentlemen. The core funding and sustenance of the African Union, the AU, which is about 60% contribution of its budget, is actually provided for by the European Union, the United States of America, China, and the World Bank in that order. Other countries like the UAE, Turkey, Japan, India, South Korea also contribute to the budget of the African Union for different reasons. These are the countries that actually fund the operations of the AU, whether in peacekeeping, counter-terrorism, infrastructure development, healthcare, or agriculture. They are the ones who bear the maximum cost of the AU, because most times, ladies and gentlemen, many member countries delay. They actually delay in their payments. So expectedly, these Western countries and the World Bank will always have the first say in what goes on in Africa. They will control what goes in and what goes out of the continent. And our leaders can only say, yes, sir, yes, boss. Our leaders may pretend to talk tough, but that's how far they can go. They can only bark, but they can't bite. Just so you know.
Oh, nti abushia, no wonder. And I make a sure no wonder say Chinese for a buy ha. No mbetutu ya gudie because omunim say mo ankasa no gold na egu onom no munim ne amode beye diamond no munim ne amode beye because mo se mo ankasa country ni na no anasa continent ni na no mo aka mo ho abomu kra no so just say yen ya bremu baby na kia no an say na amen Chinese for eye den name it even the human resource no ye wo but just say the kind of leaders are here for no and e gwesi sa human resource no enyina eno na ewesi sa resource no enyina inti wey ye leaders we amuat me say inti Ibrahim Traroe e make statement bi o say sa wo pese wo okan bibi sa o say e bia wo pese o twe oho efri omo sa men kan say mental slavery and as a bondage ni mu a omo agreement no e was a would denounce no what catch say no agreement na money ya akọ we are no more in terms and I say I agree with those agreements no ebiem na unya yes na just what wiki omo foundation no because agreement omo no wakọ no and a wiki foundation this is the reason intia Ibrahim Traroe empese on a African Union and sa ECOWAS no ebe ye bibia na omo miensa no omo ate omo no because as a soldier as a visionary leader ohwe fund mo ankasa no mo se mo de support se Africa niam ekoso a enye ye de be support na sa sika na ba no kra no otumi so no ankasa no etumi rezi ema na ye and truly oye ebi obi be ka se ebi ode ne ho akobo ye ka ne say Russia yes ade se mehwe na ebi a organization bi ewo ho sa organization we me de me ho bona da bi ono de osisi me ni ope ni ebe kwa onu ni favor but anya me favor I was so to be yeden etwe ne ho efri ho nti sa na Ibrahim Traroe aye na and according to your research oye ni enti a ama obi te say UK US China Korea India this kind of names kra na mete kra na me ma homte India then na India wa yen Africa the whole Africa yen to minya enunti yen nyina ya kan yen ho abom as one continent say nipa ba akono yen to me and raise those fans na just say India ever to your aid Chinese for ever to your aid Korea ever to your aid AUE also ever to your aid intino visionary leaders enuntina nana Kwame Bediako kan and no wonder say omutumi sabotage na ama even the vote kra no yen youth ni ye mu bebre na enim pa say ye support no ye vote ema no nanso no one drew baby no wonder because omukroya na a control system no omukroya na eye bibia ena omude ma his excellency John Dramani Mahama adentia because ono no oba no wanka bibia e kire se oba obema Africa ya de ho anase Africa ya tu impon ewo abrabom nemom ne nsema okan yin na no mankasa tenase omu se o we de oba enokra na yen ye bedidi peche because na Kwame Bediako etumi gina pray ekan ye kire ena wan kirem otumi gina pray ekan se AU and ECOWAS a useless organization and truly Ibrahim Traroe so ebe confirm ye inti Ibrahim Traroe crade on my reasons intia there's no need so obe wasting the time that time no to say organization ya na say ya e dia ya say ECOWAS at 50 year ye be celebrating wo cry we a waste of money yan country na you host and enya dan ya say even number find the na yan so yesika e be wram waste of money waste of time leaders nax already nax some waste to more time then we oma sign ebe waste another time den e wo honom e de aka ho intino abushia it's time mama yen raise your voice high this time around sa organization ni na I think say e was say you dissolve no Yes, yeah, we are calling for African unity, but the unity na kasa na omo form ya no useless. Hwe omo celebrate ye kan say AU e wo hono ma na ye tena ho ehwe ema Muhammad Gaddafi ye tena ho ema omo assassinate na African leader ba ko kra enu ho otumi bo ho wa ka say dabi ade we de enye inti ye mpane ye nyina ye tena ho eye nhwe han ema yetu sa papa edi efre so the same thing ena ye nuanom Sahara foi ade a omo ye nyina ye di ho adanse ye nkọ honum bia social media eda ho citizen enyinara edubreti enye so obi na ka kira me Burkina me wonamfofo ene ade ewo honum and there is one particular town aya ye kọ ne ye kọ ye num a ekọ ene ye kọ stay ankate se Ghana ha anka be ka se Ibrahim Tuari ebaye enche a oye development no ehọ de ebinya endruo enre ya me ne madamfo na edi nkomo na mfre na mbisa ne se nti na ye kan se Ibrahim Tuari enuma a wo ye no eye sapaga honom no edidi na mabo no town edi no sapaga honom no sa development ni ebi aba ho ana o se ane company kakaka ya kukura si honom lay pipes aye light ne ho niama enche obetere yesi Ibrahim Tuari asan anugreti anase wasan so akobie another company ewo ehonum sapaga o yeka Burkina Nkrona sapaga anka onka ho bi anka bia ebeka te se Ghana ha kra kurube na mefa nto humpo Ghana ha kra me hu kra mefa nkompe onka ho bi enso wako mount factory baya esi wonum enche mekọ kwotwa bi e de akere mo nti yete hanom ena amo promise ye sanitary pad yes hey why ya dia ebi bada na as a serious country hwe na nse ya ye bre almost say youth one wan o prime kofo adwuma bet a serious country ben ena de bet ebe busi say odi eno ena employ ni youth ebere inti omu vuesi ye human resource no ankasa Africa de Ghana as through Ghana.
The European Union's budget for 2023 was $186.6 billion. This was before the war between Russia and Ukraine started. The key spending areas in Europe is on cohesion and regional development, which is accounting for 49.6 billion euros. That is to support poorer European country regions. They spend 40 billion euros on agriculture and rural development among all European country members and 13.6 billion euros on research and innovation. This explains why they appear to always go forward and we stagnate. Similarly, ladies and gentlemen, ECOWAS, their budget for 2024 is between $400 to $450 million. This is for 15 current member countries. Out of that budget, 40 to 50% is contributed by member countries. A greater chunk of that money is from the external, i.e., European Union, the World Bank, the States, and China. When you turn to the SADC region, the Southern African ADC, which comprises South Africa, Angola, Zambia, the DRC, and the rest, which they total about 60 member countries, they have same contribution structures. Ladies and gentlemen, they have an annual budget of $70 to $90 million, of which the member countries actually only contribute 40%, leaving the chunk of 60% contribution to the same external sources: EU, World Bank, USA, and China. It's almost the same thing everywhere in Africa. The EAC, which is East African Community, has seven member countries. They have an annual budget of $110 to $130 million, and out of that figure, 50 to 60% is from the contribution of member countries, and the rest is from external sources, same external sources: EU, World Bank, African Development Bank, and the United States of America. These external sources have successfully integrated into every fabric of society. They have simply taken a seat, the permanent seat in every type of union or organization within Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the problem we have at hand. Our leaders have over the years sold us out to Western elements. So whenever African leaders meet at AU, ECOWAS, SADC or EAC meetings, there are EU, World Bank, American and Chinese representatives also present in those meetings. Our every move is already known by the West and actually dictated by the West. They have put in place puppet president all across Africa and therefore totally in charge of our economies. Our security is in their hands. Even our food supply is with them. Ladies and gentlemen, the time for Africa to rise like the phoenix is here. This shackle of neo-colonialism and imperialism has to come off. Captain Ibrahim Traroe and the rest of the Sahel group are showing us the way. Are we going to listen and take our destinies in our hands, or are we going to inquire of our paymasters for their opinions before we act? Ghana can be bigger than Belgium. Nigeria can be better than the UK. South Africa can be more successful than Germany, and Tanzania can be Africa's version of an improved Italy. We must decide our fate, ladies and gentlemen, and we must do it now when the occasion is just right. Stand up, Africa, and demand your spot on the world stage. God bless you for taking time to watch this video. Be sure to subscribe.
Nti abushia no yenya no ne submission and the research okoye ode ebaye. And you see, this is the kind of information anka day in and day out ne yen youth no I want you to go as here na ye digest those message no na ye tena se edwen say with all this solution be ni betumi ede aba because in kwakwafo no omo ndwe nchirima ho ne omo di awu akọ ene ne omo de beja omo yemu ma no eno nko a ena omo dwe ho wona wokoye etogbo ekoto abama ne ede de koye no ono no onfa wo ho enti Africa youth ye nyina mum yan sorry o said this time around mum ye hu kwan ye ba sorry agina Ibrahim Traroe set example e dia mai say ye bibia eyeye because my min kan chop many ye youth ni bebre in painful bi wo hono man ka hu na office we die sabio adwen edani trim ba hono ni di nkomo a otumi bie na no ka chiro say without this westness na ye ntumi enye bibia e ma ni nye I don't blame them. But this time around, no, Ibrahim Traroe a set example na mai. Asimi Gota was set example no Eddie Amaye. Mene woka say Mary and ye the first African country ochia ne ho kan nyina on di obibia eka. Nienti a ebia yen tante omudi omko ye adwuma ba yen tante omudi ne say wachia ne ho kan nyina nti was start from a scratch. Me amisika me de build me ho from a scratch. Ade akodu top inti nipa we no onya bode ne hu wi a ne resource awowo uranium hwanyo opebi na wo ba ono ko agreement ope ono be ko agreement ono ape inti wo megina enka nchire ne say mimi betu fom agudie ede akọ mema 5% mema 10% te se ne egu o man Ghana hanum a sa jimisem we ya na ekoso no yete hanum ya resource me say Chinese yentumi enka omohwe yempanfo na nitua amakofibu abetena TV so esu kireye na ya adwen ketekete sa akokọ stories ntino ye fi se ya ye emotion ama no ne ye fi se egedwen na odwen ye ho no ni nyina ne se China for and sponsor eniema bi omo nyina akwa aka omo abom no China for and like Oma capture Oma toye because waka ho abom 58 or say 52 member state waka mo ho abom ena yen ene ye find them then eba ne say ECOWAS enso a ene ECOWAS present is it 32 ECOWAS how many I think say 32 and as I stand to be collected and also cry aka ho abom no sankofo we ya na e find here then everyone ma individually so no say Ghana and the China for IMF anyway nti eba ne saa na chese wan kasa no ntumi nya obi bia nti omo na omo take full control over you nti wo de ade kwa enya kwa eba wo mamu a eno an se no aka wano atum nansen a Donald Trump esore ye na oye ne mema sam because ni muodu ode ko China for so kire se masa enya wo kwa na wo ma me niema wo me so me ma wo niema nti se we na wo de aba me so we na me de aba Ghana ha yete apa ya ma me je mesa ekoka say US ye be ye ewie kra na asem keke na okan kra menim say pressure say tension eno na ade chen ye pam ye se ye ma me yare a ye tam na de kuroko UK sisi ye nim ne aba say no ho you say ne condition eti senyu eno no nti Ibrahim Traore set example no e de amaye and sisi ano ye ma me is it Tanzania ono so anana Namibia na se Tanzania maame no ono so asori o se US esi ye deport Africans na muhia visa no maba mikro dia ene ame so mikro mu ha minim se anya hwe no mo citizen be 500 e wo ha no ma omo so no muhia visas no maba enti mi deport omo eno ene friend say yes leadership mentwen sa abribia wo na obema mbibi hwe Ghana masa si yenya foreign aid bia yenwu mumba moye momodia na sa ankofo we mu ina ne yeso yendi na so omo agreement na yenso yen start from scratch yen focus mainly gold wan ni nyina no mumma yen jai enguo yen cover aso ensase na omo tututum yen cover ne yen focus mainly on farming ne yen hwade sani oman no besi akọ impuntuo a oman no ebenya na achire no se ya o se ye touch sa niam we e de back niam bia na e de abake na Kwame Bediako start campaign ideas ahodo a na Kwame Bediako e de good for me anka montenase o de moon steady ideas no na mo apply no 111 Kwame who say yes mapeke emu bia ni honom galamse ya ye kan yes eye papa yesi abone takra no ena ma no ho yefe na takra bone de efaniam patere kwa nti se efaniam patere kwa galamse no boys ne ya adwuma enu oman nu omunya nkakra wo nanso no ese nsuo na sika kakra obenya di ebeku ye nyina ne de yen stop a yenim consequence a de beba omukra na hi na omunya na momodi create jobs emom na Kwame Bediako ka say yen fa sa ankola we mu yen train omo na yenya proper rock mining enya ne say yes yen nsuo propaganda omo ye na Ghana oba de ye ko galamse nyina no miguso ka chro me se ene ya me ye ko me wie ansa na me ba be ye life we a me ye no ha no me ukọ Revanco bra so this time ya bosen time ya amene wo ka say omu guso amo ye galamse obekọ machine gunsuo no so a to yes nsuo Revanco bra isu and unam so a start from domnase sa de kwa trabanso sa de komtumandu no anyina omu gunsuo no ma pa na sabi o yenye obi ondwen partizanti no akogina Revanco bra bridge ne epono wura tumi awura mu kakra na adaje se eho no mama netia na da no de abaye campaign mahama baye ya no hwese ne wasi fight galamse amansuo ani aye munwuram na monko eno na ye bra asare donko a oye wo join news akoye ho yi de be kire ye no nti galamse ntokwa no ene oman na ye team na ya kasa leaders no entumi enye take decision emfa emboa ema oman no empuntu enkoso a abreni abrebia no ye foreigner na tumi abeboaye ne afight they said the same thing na say ya yewura kra so e kan say ye friend say Prince Charles ena aka chen so obeba no abeboa amia fight galamse ye wo mpinfo akase awo oman mu ha no ma okase mpunu ebepunu nanso no most of them be mo bebre na ankasa because they are involved in those activities in no omuntu mi e make order and I yet one mo sa ene ye hwe ene ye say bibia ni ekum mu nipa ne emu ne ewo honom ne ye import emu drugs me say red ene wan nyina omode ba nkwalae no mu nyina no omo an omode ba because omode brom no man nom atumi agye adwuma nkwase adwuma e de yiyi gold ni ade e de amomo anka wuntumi etumi betena TV so eyiyi gold back akase e de gu honom e brage kireye e ka kireye say ono no eyi ede hey oman we ayetimu ohun no wonder so omode democracy ahye ye kon because omunim say Ghana Africa ye jai democracy a anya hwede nya proper leader ye betumi ade ye ho nti no omde democracy e de ahye ye ho a e Ibrahim mapa omudi bro for so na omfo so say ombetumi agi ye wiaro afri worum ne man for atiesi abonten omo se ono ana omu hia no so ye dictator so ye military wan democracy no omo ne to nkwanta omo apai and ampanso hwedwumadi a Ibrahim Traroe edi na say 1,000 machines ni ede ye kwan ni ede ye agriculture ni ede ye hwan ni nyinara otwe free Ghana port me ntan omo na me kasa mo famfa ho but omo ede nam ha na ekọ nti den na si o man Ghana ye na ye si democracy den na si ye kwan si e betumi aye sa ade no ebi abro ani bayie na adokoro ye aye de ete hanom and yen youth no yentumi andwen se nipa momi andwen se nipa ni yenjai se na we enya possible obi eka ade a ye hwe abebo a ye se da bi o ni yatena amomo abehye ye bo enkokwa nketenkete pampers toilet a mo besi amaye edwaye like we are jokes nkokwa nketenkete pampers eyi ano kana ya na meti ana mebo fono me an ebi mu ho a mo ntumi ntop pampers na wan na ka chero na me meti anu mi na me wadwuma meje wo na obefiri ba bia beto pa da ama me ba inti no sa pa de sika no boboa no fancy factory enyandru so starting from baby nkakra ebeba waste of money nie wan ko si hard villager na wo si ye kan sen ye si hard villager na ye si cathedral na adane amana eno so na ye ntimamfo na egu na ye bose edema omo se ampa oma ye adwuma ebi emada awusha ha na mde obesi mesro so be subscribe to channel no na share na like it cause this time around no madika aka Ibrahim Traroe o say ye kawoda ye nchirima ebeba abeka na say ye wuo say ye tiase no ye be feel effect no until this time around no o say ye face reality until this time around ne ekoso wo man no anya bia no ye nkan ya no antum ye beka no kra no a ewom no ne beba bia no ye beso ano madika aka osaje for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah say waso kanea bi na sa kanea no obia entumi enye dey endum kanea no eda ampa so kanea na oso si wo no ena ekoso shine no mu ya mu betumi akele nipa no but message ne de oboa it will keep on till Africa rise again. Macron.